When I returned to this home, there was a wedding photo hanging on the wall that I had never seen before. The bride in the picture wore the wedding dress I once tried on, linked arms with my husband, smiling brilliantly. And I, the real wife, stood at my own doorstep like a stranger. 7 years ago, I fell into a coma after a car accident. 7 years later, I woke up to find my life had been completely replaced by another woman. Her name was Celine, my best friend and the caregiver who helped look after me. During my coma, she not only took care of my husband but naturally ended up marrying him. Sis, you're finally awake. Celine stood in the living room, holding a 5-year-old girl in her arms, her smile so gentle it made me want to vomit. I looked at her, slowly piecing together the truth of these 7 years in my mind. The day of the car accident, I was about to go to the hospital for a pregnancy check. Yes, I was pregnant, but only Celine knew this secret, and then I was unconscious for 7 years. When I woke up, the doctor told me I had lost my ability to conceive. And Celine was holding a child who looked exactly like my husband. "Mommy, who is this auntie?" the little girl asked in a sweet, childish voice. "Mommy." She called Celine Mommy. My heart felt like it had been stabbed hard. This child should have been mine. "This is Mommy's good friend," called Auntie. Celine gently stroked the child's head, then looked at me. "Nina, the doctor said your memory might be a bit confused, so you should rest well first." Memory confused? I looked around the living room, filled with traces of this little family, watching Celine naturally standing in my place, and suddenly understood something. She thought I had amnesia. She thought I didn't remember what happened before the car accident, didn't remember that I had been pregnant, didn't remember that she knew about my pregnancy. I suppressed the anger in my heart and weakly nodded. "I really don't remember very clearly." A flicker of relief passed through Celine's eyes. "Then you should rest in the guest room first, and we'll talk after you've had some time to adjust." The guest room. I was staying in the guest room of my own home. That night, my husband Kyle came back. When he saw me, a moment of complexity flashed across his face, but it quickly returned to calm. "Nina, you're awake." His voice was flat, like he was speaking to an ordinary friend. I studied his expression carefully, trying to find a trace of guilt or unease, but there was none. He looked completely at ease, as if marrying my friend was the most natural thing in the world. "Kyle, can we talk?" "Let's talk about it tomorrow. You just got discharged today and need to rest." Kyle avoided my gaze and walked toward the master bedroom, the room he shared with Celine. I stood in the living room, listening to the voices upstairs, hearing the little girl call him Dad, and my heart grew colder bit by bit. 7 years. She had spent a full 7 years perfectly replacing my life. And I, the real wife, had become an uninvited guest. Early the next morning, I pretended to go for a walk, but in reality, I was investigating what had happened over those 7 years. Neighbor Zelia looked surprised to see me. "Nina, you're awake? These years have been tough for Celine, having to take care of you and the family. Kyle has been pretty good too, very kind to both Celine and Nara." "When was Nara born?" I asked tentatively. 6 years ago. You had the accident, and a little over a year later she was born. At that time, Celine was pregnant and still came to the hospital to see you, such a good kid. 6 years ago. A little over a year after my car accident. If Celine gave birth 6 years ago, then the time she got pregnant. My hand clenched tightly into a fist. Was she pregnant before my accident, or did she quickly get together with Kyle after it? Either way, it pointed to one thing: this accident might not have been an accident at all. I feigned casualness and asked, "What exactly happened in that accident?" "I don't remember a thing." Zelia sighed. "It's better you forget. Don't dwell on those unhappy things. You went out driving, and at the intersection, a big truck hit you. Luckily, Celine arrived just in time, or else you would have." "Celine arrived just in time?" "Yes, she said you called her before you left, so she followed right behind you. She was at the scene when the accident happened and called the ambulance immediately." "Celine was following me?" I tried hard to recall the details before the accident. That day, I did call her to tell her I was going to the hospital, but I never said which hospital, nor did I ask her to follow me. Then why was she at the scene? Unless she already knew where I was going. Unless she had been stalking me all along. Unless this accident was orchestrated by her. Back home, I began to scrutinize this place I once knew so well. Kyle and I had been married for 3 years, and I was familiar with every corner of this house. But now, everything here had changed. Our wedding photos were put away, replaced by pictures of him and Celine. The furniture I had carefully chosen was swapped out for styles she preferred. Even the jasmine I had planted on the balcony was replaced with roses she loved. This home had completely become hers. "Nina, what are you looking at?" Celine suddenly appeared behind me. I didn't turn around, continuing to gaze at the roses on the balcony. "Wasn't jasmine planted here before? You remember?" Her voice was a little nervous. "Didn't the doctor say you had amnesia?" I turned to look at her slightly panicked eyes. I just felt there should be something here, but I couldn't recall exactly what. She visibly relaxed. "The jasmine withered after your accident. I thought it was unlucky, so I replaced it with roses." "Dead?" "My jasmine is very resilient, even if left unattended for 7 years, it shouldn't be completely uprooted. Unless someone deliberately dug it up." "Celine, I want to ask you something." I looked into her eyes. "Why were you at the scene when I had the car accident?" Her pupils contracted slightly, but she quickly regained her composure. "I was worried about you. You said on the phone you were going to the hospital, and your voice didn't sound right, so I followed you." "What did I say on the phone?" You said you might be pregnant and needed to go to the hospital for a checkup." Her voice was very soft. "But then, you had the accident, and the baby." She didn't finish the sentence, but the meaning was clear. "I was pregnant, then had the accident, and lost the baby. But according to the neighbors, she had a child a year after my accident. The timeline doesn't add up." "Then Nara is?" I deliberately showed a confused expression. "Nara is the child of Kyle and me." Her voice suddenly grew a bit harsh. "After you had the accident, Kyle and I depended on each other and naturally ended up together. We've been very happy all these years. Nina, you wouldn't destroy our family, would you?" "Destroy?" I almost laughed out loud. She destroyed my family, and now she's blaming me? But I held back and continued pretending to have amnesia. "I wouldn't. I just want to understand what happened in these 7 years." That afternoon, Kyle came home early. He and Celine were talking in the kitchen, their voices low, but I still caught a few keywords. Memory, doctor, leave, they're discussing how to handle me. That night, Kyle took the initiative to talk to me. "Nina, I know this situation is hard for you to accept, but this is the reality." He sat across from me, his expression serious. "For the past 7 years, it's been Celine taking care of this home, taking care of you. Now that you're awake, I'm glad, but I can't abandon her and Nara." "I never said I wanted you to abandon her." I looked at him calmly. "I just want to know, do you still remember our agreement?" He was momentarily stunned. "What agreement?" "We said that no matter what happens, we must be honest with each other." I looked into his eyes. "So I want to ask you, during the time I was unconscious, did you hide anything from me?" Kyle's expression grew a bit awkward. "Nina, let the past be the past." "The past?" I sneered. "For you it's the past, but for me, it was just yesterday." "Kyle, we were on a cold war before I lost consciousness, do you remember why?" His face instantly darkened. "Yes, we were on a cold war. Because I found out his relationship with Celine was abnormal. At that time, Celine had just broken up and was living at our place, saying she was looking for a job, but I noticed she always found various excuses to be alone with Kyle when I wasn't around. I confronted Kyle, and he said I was overthinking it, that Celine was just a friend and he had no other feelings for her. Then we started giving each other the cold shoulder. Then I found out I was pregnant. Then I had a car accident. Looking back now, none of it was a coincidence. You remember? Kyle's voice trembled slightly. I remember a lot of things. I stood up. Including the evidence I found before the accident. What evidence? There was actually no evidence, but I wanted to see his reaction. Sure enough, Kyle's face went pale in an instant. Nina, let me explain. No need to explain, I cut him off. I'm tired and want to rest. I turned and went upstairs, his hurried footsteps echoing behind me. In the days that followed, I began secretly investigating the truth of the past 7 years. I reached out to old friends, using inquiries about my condition during the coma as an excuse to learn about the development of Kyle and Celine's relationship. My college classmate Lyra told me a shocking piece of news. Nina, didn't you know? Kyle and Celine had been together for 3 months before your accident. We all thought you knew since Celine was living at your place. 3 months ago? That was right when we started the Cold War between us. Are you sure? I tried to keep my voice steady. Absolutely sure. I even saw them go to the movies together. I found it strange and wanted to ask you, but you were unreachable by phone. Unreachable because I had turned off my phone during the Cold War. And Celine's pregnancy. It must have happened around then. Nina, you really didn't know any of this? Of course not. I thought it was just a normal marital quarrel, thinking we'd make up in a few days. I had no idea at all that my husband and my best friend had long betrayed me. What's even more terrifying is that when I found out I was pregnant and was about to go to the hospital to confirm it, planning to use this good news to mend our relationship, they were already plotting to get rid of me. My fingers gripped the phone tightly, my nails digging deep into my palm. So, I had always been a joke. That night, I pretended to be asleep and secretly recorded the conversation between Kyle and Celine. She seemed to remember something. Today she even asked me about the time before the accident. Celine's voice was tense. Didn't the doctor say she has amnesia? The doctor only said it might be amnesia, but what she said today. I think she's testing us. So what do we do? How about we make her move out? Just say that this place brings back painful memories and isn't good for her recovery. And Kyle, we can't let her stay here. Sooner or later, she'll find out about Nara's birth date, and then. She didn't finish, but the meaning was clear. There was a problem with Nara's birth date. According to what they said, Celine got pregnant after my accident, so Nara should be between 5.5 and 6 years old. But Nara was clearly more developed than children her age, looking more like 6.5. In other words, Celine was very likely already pregnant before my car accident. And at the time of my accident, I was also pregnant. A chilling thought began to take shape in my mind. Celine's child survived, but my child. The next day, I found an excuse to go out, but in reality, I went to the city hospital. I needed to uncover the truth. In the hospital archives, I used some means to access medical records from 7 years ago. Celine's prenatal check records showed that her due date was 3 weeks earlier than the actual delivery date. And those 3 weeks coincided exactly with the time of my car accident. In other words, she most likely gave birth on the very day of my accident. A premature baby. My hand trembled violently, almost dropping the medical file. Even more terrifying records followed. My medical records showed that on the day of the accident, I was indeed pregnant, and the fetus was healthy. But shortly after I fell into a coma, the fetus unexpectedly died. Cause of death, medical malpractice. Yet, on the very same day, Celine prematurely gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The truth was already glaringly obvious. She not only took my husband away but also stole my child. The baby I gave birth to while unconscious was claimed by her. And I, the real mother, was told the child had died. Nara is not her child. Nara is my daughter. Suppressing the shock and fury inside me, I pressed on with the investigation. I needed more evidence. I contacted the traffic police captain who handled my case back then. He had retired but still remembered the accident. That accident was indeed suspicious. The old captain frowned as he recalled, the truck driver who hit you claimed the brakes failed, but after inspection, it was found that the brake system had been tampered with. And then what happened? Later, the driver suddenly changed his story, saying it was his negligence that he didn't notice the brake problem. That's how the case was closed. Why did the driver change his story? Well, it said that someone gave him a sum of money to take the blame. The old captain lowered his voice, but that's all just rumors, no proof. Someone bribed the driver. And the only person with a motive to do that was Celine. She orchestrated the accident with the goal of making me disappear. But she didn't expect me to fall into a coma for 7 years instead of dying outright, so she had to change her plan. Since I wouldn't wake up, she decided to take over my life. I kept investigating and uncovered even more chilling truths. For the past 7 years, Celine has been lying to outsiders about how hard and difficult it is to take care of me. She even established a vegetative state family support group and accepted a considerable amount of donations in my name. All of that money went straight into her personal account. She profits from my suffering, gains sympathy under my name, and then naturally enjoys everything that rightfully belongs to me. What infuriates me the most is that I discovered she has been administering a drug to me that prolongs the coma and prevents patients from waking up. In other words, I might have woken up long ago, but she deliberately kept me in a coma. She not only stole my life but also made sure I would never wake up. That night, I sat in the guest room, staring at the evidence in my hands, the fury inside me nearly consuming me. But I couldn't act on impulse. Celine had managed to deceive everyone for 7 years, which meant she was no ordinary person. If I recklessly exposed the truth, she would surely find a way to strike back, and might even harm Nara. I needed a flawless plan. The next day, I began putting my revenge plan into motion. First, I contacted a private detective to help me gather more evidence. Then, I started installing hidden recording devices around the house to capture every conversation between Celine and Kyle. Most importantly, I began to get close to Nara. "Nara, would you like Auntie to tell you a story?" I asked gently, looking at the little girl who resembled me. She nodded innocently, yes. I told her a story about a princess and a wicked witch. In the story, the witch stole the princess's castle and prince, and even took the princess's little treasure. What happened to the princess then? Nara asked, her eyes wide. The princess found a way to reclaim everything that belonged to her. I gently stroked her hair, because justice always triumphs over evil. Nara nodded, half understanding. In the following days, I noticed a detail. Nara's blood type was AB, clearly stated on her medical report. Celine's blood type was O, which I had seen in the hospital records. Kyle's was type A. People with type O blood cannot have children with type AB blood. This was the most direct evidence. That night, I shared this discovery with the private detective. "This does prove the child isn't hers," the detective said, "but you still need to prove the child is yours. I want to do a paternity test. That requires a sample from the child. I'll find a way." The next day, while Celine was not at home, I secretly snipped a lock of Nara's hair. 3 days later, the test results came back. Nara is indeed my daughter. Looking at the report showing a 99.99% probability of parentage, tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. My daughter, the child I thought of day and night, was right beside me, yet had been raised by someone else for 6 years. And I, her true mother, had to approach her cautiously, afraid of being discovered. With solid evidence in hand, I began the second phase of my revenge. I wanted Celine and Kyle to understand that betrayal comes with a price. First, I contacted a journalist friend and leaked the story of Celine embezzling donation funds. The news quickly went viral online. "The plant wife's close friend embezzles charity funds," such a headline soon trended on social media. Netizens expressed their anger one after another, demanding Celine to disclose the accounts and explain where the funds went. Celine panicked. "Kyle, what should I do? Everyone online is cursing me, and some are even asking for their money back." She paced anxiously in the living room. Return the money first, then we'll talk. Kyle's face was also grim. But that money has already. Already what? I've already used it for investments, and I can't get it back anytime soon. Kyle glared at her fiercely. Celine, how could you do this? That was other people's goodwill. I just wanted the money to make more money, so when Nina wakes up, there'd be plenty to pay for her treatment. Celine burst into tears, feeling wronged. Upstairs, I listened to their quarrel, sneering coldly. Now she's crying? Didn't she think about today when she took everything from me back then? The next day, an even greater blow arrived. The private detective compiled all the collected evidence into a dossier, including the truth about the car accident, hospital records, blood type comparisons, and the audio recordings I secretly made. I sent this evidence to Kyle's company. Kyle was a partner at a design firm, and his career largely depended on the trust of his clients. Once it was known that he was a man who betrayed his wife and conspired with his mistress to harm her, no client would be willing to work with him. Sure enough, that afternoon Kyle rushed home in a panic. Nina. What did you send to the company? He stormed into my room, his face ashen. I looked at him calmly. What did I send? Aren't you the one who knows best? How did you get all this? He held the evidence in his trembling hands, his voice quivering. I was unconscious for 7 years, but I didn't lose my memory. I stood up and took step after step toward him. Kyle, you think you've done everything flawlessly, but paper can never cover fire. Nina, listen to my explanation. Explanation? I sneered. Explain how you cheated with my best friend? Explain how you orchestrated the car accident to harm me? Or explain how you stole my daughter? Kyle looked as if he'd been struck by lightning, slumping into the chair. You knew everything? I knew everything. I looked down on him from above, including Nara's true identity. Nina, Nara is innocent. Of course she's innocent, she's my daughter. My voice suddenly rose. Kyle, you stole my life, took my child, and made her call another woman mom for 6 whole years. The sound of something breaking came from the living room, followed by Celine's scream. We rushed downstairs and saw Celine frantically smashing things. It's all your fault. All because of you. She saw me, her eyes filled with hatred. If you hadn't woken up, the 3 of us would have stayed happy forever. The 3 of us? I sneered. Celine, get this straight. Nara is my daughter, Kyle is my husband, and this home is mine too. Who do you think you are? A thief? A murderer? A murderer? She shouted hysterically. I just wanted a family. What's so great about you? You just happened to know Kyle a few years earlier than me. Known her a few years earlier? I almost laughed at her shameless audacity. Celine, we are legally married, certified by law. And you're just a homewrecker. So what? Kyle loves me now, and Nara only recognizes me as her mother. She smiled triumphantly. What are you? A vegetable who's been in a coma for 7 years? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. Arguing with a mad dog will only make you crazy too. Celine, you're right, Nara does only recognize you as her mother right now. I said slowly, but when she learns the truth, how do you think she'll see you? Celine's face instantly turned pale. What do you want to say to Nara? I will tell her who her real mother is, and how her fake mother stole her away. I said every word clearly. I will make her know that the person she called mom for 6 years is actually the murderer of her biological mother. No. You can't do that. Celine rushed over to grab me but was stopped by Kyle. Nina, Nara is still too young, she can't bear such a truth, Kyle pleaded desperately. If you want revenge, that's fine, but don't hurt the child. Hurt? I sneered coldly. Kyle, it's you who hurt her. You made her recognize a villain as her mother, separated her from her real mother for 6 years, and now you turn around and blame me? At that moment, Nara ran down the stairs. She was scared to tears by our shouting, standing timidly on the staircase. Mom, Dad, please don't fight, she said through her tears. Seeing my daughter crying, my heart instantly softened. Yes, she is still just a child, she shouldn't have to bear this, but she has the right to know the truth. That night, I stayed awake all night. I kept pondering one question: should I tell Nara the truth? As a mother, I long for my daughter to know I exist, to long for her to come back to me. But as an adult, I know the truth is too cruel for a 6-year-old. She has always recognized Celine as her mother. Suddenly learning that mom is a liar and aunt is her real mother, how much psychological trauma would that cause her? Early the next morning, I made a decision. I would first completely destroy Celine and Kyle, then slowly deal with Nara's situation. I contacted a lawyer and prepared to sue them. Nina, based on the evidence you provided, we can charge them with multiple crimes including intentional injury, fraud, bigamy, and kidnapping. After carefully reviewing the materials, the lawyer said, especially regarding the child, this involves the crime of child trafficking. I don't want money, I just want them to pay the price. I understand how you feel, but I advise you to think carefully. Once you file a lawsuit, this matter will become public, and the impact on the child. I was silent for a long time. The lawyer was right. Once things escalate, the one who suffers the most will be Nara. She will become the focus of media attention and be labeled as a kidnapped child, which is extremely detrimental to her growth. I need to come up with a way to both punish them and protect Nara. That afternoon, I arranged to meet Kyle and Celine at a cafe. I want to discuss a condition with you, I said bluntly. What conditions? Kyle asked nervously. First, Kyle, you initiate the divorce from Celine and leave with nothing. Impossible. Celine immediately objected. Why on earth would I divorce? Because you're a murderer. I looked at her coldly. Celine, the evidence I have is enough to put you in prison for 10 years. If you don't want to go to jail, do as I say. What about Nara? Kyle asked. That's the second condition. Nara stays with me, and both of you disappear from her life forever. No way. Celine stood up excitedly. Nara was raised by me, she will never go with you. Is that so? I took out my phone and played a recording. It was a conversation I had with Nara last night. I told her a story about a little princess whose real mother was locked away by villains, and a fake mother took her place. After the story ended, Nara asked innocently, Auntie, if my real mom is still alive, I want to see her. If such a mom really exists, would you go with her? I would, because blood is thicker than water. The teacher said the greatest love in the world is a mother's love. Hearing this recording, Celine's face turned pale. What did you say to Nara? I didn't say anything, I was just testing her thoughts. I put away my phone. It turns out that blood ties cannot be severed. Even if she recognizes you as her mother now, once she learns the truth, she will definitely choose me. Celine slumped into the chair, her eyes filled with despair. She knew what I said was true. The third condition, I continued, is that you cooperate with me, so Nara can naturally accept the truth without suffering psychological trauma. What do you mean? Kyle asked. I will slowly tell her the truth, but in a way she can accept. During this process, you must cooperate with me and not say anything to confuse her. What if we don't agree? Celine asked through gritted teeth. Then I'll call the police directly. I said calmly, by then, Nara will learn the truth under the media spotlight. She will know that her mother is a murderer and her father is an accomplice. Which do you think is better for her, this way or my plan? Kyle and Celine exchanged a glance, both seeing the despair in each other's eyes. They had no choice. We need time to think. Kyle said with difficulty. I'll give you 3 days. I stood up. After 3 days, I want your answer. As I walked out of the cafe, I took a deep breath. The sun was setting in the west, the streets bustling with traffic and people, everything so normal, as if no injustice had ever occurred in the world. But I knew justice, delayed by 7 years, was finally on its way. 3 days later, Kyle and Celine gave me their answer. They agreed. But I have one request, Celine said with red eyes, I want to say a proper goodbye to Nara. I looked at her haggard appearance, feeling not a trace of sympathy. Fine, but I want to be there to supervise. You can't say anything you shouldn't to her. That night, Celine called Nara to her side. Nara, Mommy is going to work in a place far, far away, and might not be able to come back for a long time. She fought back tears. You have to listen to Daddy and get along well with Aunt Nina. Why does Mom have to leave? Nara asked, confused. I don't want Mom to go. Because Mom has to earn a lot of money to buy pretty clothes for Nara. Celine's voice trembled. Will Nara miss Mom? Yes, I will miss Mom very, very much. Nara hugged Celine and said in a childish voice. Watching this scene, my feelings were complicated. There's no denying that over these 6 years, Celine truly took care of Nara with all her heart. The bond between them was real, even if it was built on lies. But a mistake is still a mistake, a crime is still a crime, and it cannot be undone by later compensation. The next day, Celine packed her bags and left. When she left, I saw her crying her heart out in the car. But I felt no pity. Her pain now was not even a fraction of what I have endured over these 7 years. Kyle's departure was relatively calm. He talked with Nara for a long time, telling her that Daddy had to work out of town, and that Aunt Nina would take care of her from now on. Daddy, are you and Mommy both leaving? Nara's eyes were full of reluctance. Yes, but Daddy will call you often and come back to see you frequently. Kyle started crying as he spoke. Nara, you have to remember, no matter what happens, Daddy loves you. That sentence made me very uncomfortable. What did he mean by no matter what happens? Was he implying that something might go wrong in the future? But I held back from reacting. Right now, the most important thing was to stabilize Nara's emotions. After Kyle left, it was just Nara and me at home. That first night, Nara cried, wanting to find Mommy. I sat by her bed, gently patting her back. Nara, Auntie is here with you. I want Mom, I want Dad. She cried so sadly. Why do they all have to leave? My heart ached as if pricked by needles. This was supposed to be my daughter, yet now she was heartbroken because of those 2 people leaving. How ironic that was. Nara, would you like Auntie to tell you a story? I don't want a story, I want Mom. I gently stroked her hair and began humming a lullaby. It was the lullaby my mother used to sing to me when I was little, and now I was singing it to my daughter. Miraculously, Nara soon quieted down, as if the song held some magical power over her. Auntie, this song is so beautiful. She looked at me with tear-filled big eyes. Can you sing it again? Of course. I sang it over and over until she fell asleep. Watching her peaceful sleeping face, tears streamed down my cheeks uncontrollably. This is my daughter, my blood and flesh. From today on, I will personally take care of her, protect her, and love her. Although it was 6 years late, we still had time. In the days that followed, I slowly began to blend into Nara's life. I learned to cook the dishes she loved, to style her hair the way she liked, and to play the games that interested her. I realized she was very much like I was as a child. Both of us loved drawing, adored little animals, and had a bit of stubbornness. Blood ties are truly magical. Even after 6 years apart, we were still so alike. 2 weeks later, Nara had fully adapted to her new life. She no longer cried every day looking for her mom and dad, but started to chat with me willingly, sharing her little secrets. I felt the time was right to begin telling her some truths. Nara, Auntie wants to ask you a question. If one day, you met someone who loved you very, very much, would you want to get to know her? What kind of person? She asked curiously. Someone who looks a lot like you, and is closely related by blood. Nara thought for a moment. Is it a relative? Like an aunt? More than an aunt. I looked into her eyes. She is the person in the world who loves you the most. Besides Mom and Dad, is there anyone who loves me more than them? There is. I gently stroked her cheek. Nara, do you trust Auntie? Yes. She nodded without hesitation. Auntie is very good to me, of course I trust her. Then Auntie is going to tell you a secret, and you mustn't be afraid, okay? Nara nodded seriously. I took a deep breath and began the words I had prepared for a long time. Nara, actually Auntie has a daughter, the same age as you, and she looks a lot like you. But her daughter was separated from her when she was very young, and she has been searching for her ever since. Where is Auntie's daughter? Right here beside Auntie. I looked into her eyes. Nara, would you be willing to be Auntie's daughter? Nara was stunned, silent for a long time. I anxiously awaited her response. After a long pause, she timidly asked, if I become Auntie's daughter, will Mom and Dad stop loving me? My heart shattered in an instant. She was still a child, she didn't understand the complexities of the adult world. All she knew was that she needed to be loved. No, they won't, I held her close. No matter whose daughter you are, everyone who loves you will always love you. Then, can I have two moms? She whispered. I thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, you can have two moms. Though it wasn't the truth, it was the best answer for her at that moment. From that day on, Nara began calling me Mom. Mom Nina, I'm hungry. Mom Nina, will you draw with me? Mom Nina, I love you. Each mom brought tears to my eyes. It was the title I had waited 7 years for, the identity I had longed for. I can finally love my daughter openly and without shame. But as our relationship deepened, Nara began asking questions that put me in a difficult position. Mom Nina, why do I look more like you and not like Mom Celine? Mom Nina, why do I feel like the songs you sing are so familiar? Mom Nina, why did Mom Celine leave? Does that mean she doesn't want me anymore? Every time I faced these questions, I felt torn. I wanted to tell her the whole truth, but I was afraid of hurting her. She was only 6 years old and couldn't fully understand the complexity and darkness of the adult world. Just as I hesitated, the unexpected happened. That afternoon, I was cooking in the kitchen when I suddenly heard arguing coming from the living room. I rushed out to see Celine standing in the living room, talking to Nara. Nara, Mommy misses you. Why don't you come with Mommy? Celine's eyes were wild. Mommy bought you so many gifts. Mom Celine? Nara looked at her in surprise. Didn't you go to work? Mom doesn't work anymore. Mom is taking you away. We're going to a very beautiful place. I sensed something was wrong and immediately rushed over. Celine, what are you trying to do? I want to take my daughter away. She turned to look at me, her eyes full of hatred. Why do you get to take her away? I raised her. She's not your daughter, she's mine. I don't care. Nina, you ruined my life. If I can't take Nara, I'll die with you. I was terrified by her madness, but even more worried about Nara's safety. Mom Celine, what's wrong? Nara backed away fearfully. Nara, don't be afraid. Mom won't hurt you. Mom just wants to take you away. Celine stepped toward Nara. I can't let her get close to Nara. Celine, calm down. If there's something wrong, we can talk it out, don't scare the child. Talk? What's there left to talk about? She laughed maniacally, you've already destroyed everything I had, and now you want to take my daughter away too. She was my daughter to begin with. I couldn't help but shout the truth, Celine, Nara is my child, not yours. You're just a kidnapper who stole a child. Those words hit Nara like a thunderclap. She stared at me blankly, then looked at Celine, her little face full of confusion and fear. What are you talking about? I don't understand. She started crying, why are you fighting? Why does Mom Celine have a knife? I realized I had said the wrong thing, but there was no time to worry about that now. Celine was closing in on Nara step by step, I had to protect her. Celine, I tried to catch her attention, I can give you anything you want, but don't hurt the child. I don't want anything else. She cried out, I only want Nara. I will take her away. Saying this, she suddenly lunged toward Nara. Without hesitation, I threw myself forward, using my body to shield my daughter. The sharp pain in my shoulder nearly made me faint, but I held Nara tightly, not letting Celine get close to her. Mom. Nara cried out in terror, Mommy Nina is hurt. That single word, Mom, filled me with immense strength. Yes, I am her mother, and I must protect her. I gritted my teeth through the pain and struggled with Celine. Just then, the neighbors heard the commotion and called the police, who arrived just in time. Celine was subdued, and I was taken to the hospital. While the doctor was treating my wounds, Nara kept holding my hand. Mom Nina, does it hurt? Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. It's all my fault. If I had gone with her, you wouldn't have been hurt. No, Nara, it's not your fault. I held back the pain to comfort her. Mommy is supposed to protect you, and I don't regret it. Mom Nina, I have a question for you. She looked into my eyes. You just said I was born from you, is that true? I was stunned. She had heard it after all. I looked at her earnest little face, knowing I couldn't deceive her any longer. Yes, Nara, you were born from Mommy. I gently stroked her cheek. Mommy has been looking for you since you were very little, and now I've finally found you. Nara was silent for a long time, then asked, what about Celine, Mom? Why does she say I'm her daughter? This question was too complicated, I didn't know how to explain it. Nara, this is a complicated matter. When you're a little older, Mom will tell you the full story, okay? Okay. She nodded, but Mom Nina, I've realized one thing now. What is it? I'm sure you love me the most because you protected me with your body. She said seriously, the teacher said that only when you truly love someone would you be willing to give your life for them. Tears welled up in my eyes. Yes, Nara, Mom loves you the most, the most. I love you the most too. She reached out her little hand to wipe my tears. Mom, let's never be apart again, okay? Okay, we'll never be apart again. Celine was sentenced to 8 years in prison for intentional injury and various other charges. In court, she looked haggard, completely stripped of her former beauty and arrogance. Your Honor, I know I was wrong. I just loved that child too much. She cried as she defended herself. I raised her for 6 years, I truly treated her like my own daughter. But she was never your daughter. The judge said sternly, Celine, you not only harmed the victim but are also suspected of fraud, bigamy, and multiple other crimes. Considering your attitude of admitting guilt, this court will show leniency in your sentencing. The moment the verdict was announced, I let out a long breath. Justice, though delayed by 7 years, had finally arrived. Cull was not convicted because it was difficult to prove that he was directly involved in planning the car accident. But he lost everything. When the company partners learned of his actions, they firmly demanded that he step down. His friends also distanced themselves from him. More importantly, he lost Nara. In Nara's heart, he was no longer the perfect dad but a villain who betrayed her mother. Mom Nina, did Dad really do something that hurt you? One day, Nara suddenly asked me. I thought for a moment and decided to tell her a relatively simple version. Yes, Dad betrayed Mom and chose another woman. Does he still love me then? He loves you, but he made a mistake. I held her close. Nara, loving someone doesn't mean you can forgive their mistakes. I understand. She nodded, then I won't call him Dad anymore. I only have one mom. Hearing this, my feelings were complicated. On one hand, I was happy for my daughter's words because it meant she had fully accepted me. On the other hand, I felt sad for her because she had lost a father's love. Although Kyle betrayed me, his feelings for Nara were genuine. Nara, if one day Dad truly repents, would you be willing to forgive him? She thought for a long time, then said, if he can sincerely apologize to you and admit his mistakes, maybe I would consider it. I was surprised by her maturity. A 6-year-old child understanding right from wrong, able to distinguish between love and forgiveness, made me both comforted and heartbroken. She should have grown up in a carefree environment, yet now she has to face such a complicated family situation. But I believe that under my protection and care, she will grow up healthy and happy. As time passed, Nara and I grew closer and closer. We painted together, read books together, went to the park together. I taught her how to ride a bike, how to cook simple meals, and how to protect herself. Most importantly, I made her understand that no matter what happens, Mom will protect her and love her. Mom, I have a question. One night, she lay in my arms and asked. What question? Why do bad people hurt us? This question made me ponder for a long time. How do you explain the complexity and ugliness of human nature to a 6-year-old? Nara, there are good people and bad people in this world. I gently stroked her hair. Bad people do bad things because they have greed and jealousy in their hearts. But you must remember, good people always outnumber the bad. Mom, she asked, how do I tell the difference between good people and bad people? Feel with your heart. True good people will protect you, care for you, and won't hurt you for their own gain. Then Mom is the best good person. She hugged me tightly, because Mom protects me. Mom will always protect you. I kissed her forehead lightly. Nara, you must remember, no matter what difficulties you face, be strong, and always believe that justice will triumph over evil. I remembered. She nodded obediently. Mom, I love you. I love you too, my darling. A year later, our life had completely stabilized. Nara started elementary school, did very well academically, and had a cheerful personality. She rarely mentioned Celine and Kyle anymore, as if that chapter had become a distant past. Sometimes I would think, maybe for children, forgetting is better than remembering. She doesn't need to carry the grudges of the adult world, she just needs to grow up happily. It was Nara's 7th birthday, and I had prepared a small birthday party for her. I invited her classmates and teachers, along with some of our new friends. Mom, this is the best birthday I've ever had. She hugged me excitedly, her face full of joyful smiles. Seeing her so happy, I felt that all the effort over the past year was worth it. I looked out at the sunset, recalling everything that has happened over the past 2 years. From despair to hope, from separation to reunion, from pain to happiness. I've been through so much, but I've come through it all strong. Yes, my daughter and I will be happy forever.